Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
So, as we've just heard, the prospect of a no-deal Brexit has been delayed, but as Theresa May pointed out, it has not gone away entirely. In the last hour, the government has released internal assessments on the impact of a no-deal Brexit. Our economics correspondent Darshini David is here. So, boiled down, what do these official assessments actually mean?
Just 15 pages, George, but it doesn't make for comfortable reading. In effect, what this is saying is the country, consumers, businesses aren't prepared for a no deal, and it could have a heavy cost for all of us, falling particularly hard on those living in Northern Ireland. Some of this is beyond our control. For example, it talks of the fact that filling in all the extra forms needed for goods to cross borders could cost business an extra £13 billion. So there could be delays, there's going to be tariffs, charges perhaps, in the event of a no deal, and that could mean a lack of choice when it comes to food, higher prices. The Governor of the Bank of England today is talking about the risks to our prosperity from a no deal. Prior to this, he was saying even if we did get a deal, we were looking at the slowest rate of expansion for our economy perhaps this year since the financial crisis. He's now saying if there's a no deal, we are guaranteed an even sharper slowdown. Normally, he'd be talking about cutting interest rates, but if prices are rising, inflation's rising, the bank's hands might be tied. How seriously should we take all of these warnings? Well, put it this way, just on that sort of hint from Westminster that we could see a no deal being delayed, the pound is trading in the financial markets at its highest level now for some months.
Darshini, thank you.
But more on Brexit here in the studio now, because the government has tonight given its own assessment of the economic impact of a no deal, and it is a sobering read. It accepts that the flow of goods through Dover and the Channel Tunnel could be significantly reduced for months, and that could push up food prices. And it says a big part of the problem is that many businesses are still not preparing for no deal. Our economics correspondent, Helia Ebrahimi, is here. So, Helia, give us the kind of executive summary of this report, if you can.
I mean, Kathy, this report makes for very stark reading. In essence, it says, despite all the government's efforts to prepare for a no-deal Brexit and a £4 billion budget, Britain is not ready. The government's not ready. Companies are not ready. And the impact is likely to be severe. More severe, indeed, than the Treasury's assessment at the back end of last year, which claimed that there could be a 9% hit to the UK GDP over 15 years. Just to give you a scale of the risk, the Department for Brexit admits that now a third of critical no-deal projects within government are not on track. Or, for example, only 6 out of 40 trade deals being signed have actually been done.
And what about, that's for government, but what about the business preparations?
Well, the government here are admitting that there's little evidence that businesses are preparing in earnest for a no-deal Brexit. To give you an example, only 40,000 out of 240,000 UK companies that trade with Europe have a critical piece of documentation in place that they'll need. And the report goes on to say that this is going to lead to huge problems with customs and with delays. Specifically, they say as a result of French checks and lack of business readiness, the flow of goods through the short channel crossing, that's Dover and Eurotunnel, could be significantly reduced. They say this will have an impact on food prices and even shortages.
And just briefly, the report waxes rather lyrical on Northern Ireland, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm afraid it's particularly sharp warnings there, because here they outline business failures, unemployment, even electricity impacts, and an increase in smuggling and associated criminality. I mean, this report overall reads like a huge piece of warning rather than a bureaucratic update from government.
Helia, thanks very much. Well, Theresa May's plan could mean MPs are offered the chance to vote to delay Brexit by extending Article 50, as we've heard. But is there any guarantee that the European Union would agree to such a move? A little earlier, I spoke to the German MEP, Joe Leinen, and I began by asking him whether the 27 EU states would unanimously agree to extend Article 50.
We don't like the extension of Article 50, but if it would help to prevent a no-deal Brexit, I think then there are many people in Brussels who would say, let's do it. But we should get a message from London what we will do in the extension period. Will we still stick to the old positions, or is there a movement towards a deal?
Well, what do you want the UK to do in that extension period?
Now, we still have the squaring of the circle. If UK is not part of anything of the common market or the customs union, we necessarily get a border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. So either there is a solution that Britain stays in the customs union, then you have no border, or they go out of the customs union and then you get somehow a border. So you cannot have both. You have to decide what you want.
But equally, if we leave without a deal, a hard border goes up in Ireland. So isn't it in the interests of Germany and the rest of the EU also to make concessions which at the moment have not been forthcoming?
Now, I think we are pretty clear to protect the integrity of the common market rules, because Brexit would be a precedent for the future. So somehow we should look on alternative solutions. But that is now the job of Downing Street number 10 to present us alternative solutions that are workable for the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. We haven't seen anything that works.
The fact that you're putting this back to the UK to come up with proposals suggests to some why we're now heading for a delay. So how long, in your view, would a delay be? A long delay or a short delay?
It is pretty much excluded to delay Article 50 beyond this legislature. That means the 1st of July. Because in May we have the elections to the European Parliament. So either Britain should take part in the European elections in May, then an extension is possible even beyond the 1st of July. If not, it can only go for 2 months.
Do you trust Theresa May?
I have my doubts, but doubts are not helpful. Hope dies at the very last moment. So let's hope that there is still the will to have a deal and not only a game for a no deal.
What do you think is the most likely scenario now? A deal, no deal, stay in the EU, or have a second referendum?
I hope for a last-minute deal, either still in March or then at the latest in June. If not, of course, I mean, an alternative solution would be people's vote to start a new game with letting the British people say again what they want exactly.
Joe Lannan, thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, goodbye.
Now, whilst decisions at Westminster in the past couple of days have shifted the political landscape when it comes to Brexit, the main sticking point, of course, remains unchanged. I refer, of course, to the problems over the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic. And all the while, the uncertainty is affecting lives and businesses there as much, if not more, than anywhere else in the UK.
The wild coastline of Northern Ireland, where the scenery is almost as breathtaking as the chaos surrounding Brexit. But then, if it wasn't for the geography of this place, the UK might have found leaving the EU rather easier. The issue of the border here still blocking a clear road to Brexit.
Last year we probably had over 1,000 people on this cliff walk alone.
A committed Remainer, Emma Flanagan, runs walking tours and would be devastated by Brexit if she believed it would ever happen.
I'm an optimist, and I come back to the politics that happened in 1998 were impossible, and yet they did happen. Something will come good to create a win-win-win. I don't know what form that will take, but I'm certain there will not be a cliff edge Brexit.
And if the Good Friday Agreement taught Emma 2 decades ago that nothing is impossible, the giant causeway offers a daily reminder.
Steeped as it is in ancient myth, there's something fantastical about this landscape. And that feels apt, because it's arguable that nowhere has the dream of Project Brexit collided harder with reality than here in Northern Ireland.
It means not everyone is so confident the boom in tourism will continue. Hotelier Sean McLaughlin fears the pressure of a possible no deal and border checks could undo years of good work here.
The way in which the North Coast has seen popularity increase is based around tourism from Dublin and from Belfast. Any perceived border in Northern Ireland is only going to be a bad thing. I think that if there's any kind of detail or word border used when people have to cross it, it will certainly impede their journey and their viewpoint of coming up this direction. So,
building peace and prosperity was a long uphill struggle here, and few relish the uncertainty of a delayed Brexit.
We've got 1 month to go, and I do believe they can put a deal together. It's going to be really
Tom
hard.
McBride has a farmer's natural optimism. A cattle and sheep breeder in Ballymena, he voted leave and still wants out. But with the calving and lambing season just beginning, time is now of the essence.
We are lambing, about to start lambing next month, and we're getting ready for that, and those lambs then will be ready mid-summer to go to the European market. Now, a deal has to be put in place so that can happen, because if those lambs stay on the farm too long, they'll become too fat, they'll be unsaleable.
And if a deal isn't in place, what does that mean for your family finances?
I'm really going to suffer. I'm really going to suffer.
If you believe the stories, this is a coastline created by giants. And despite the optimism here, something of that magnitude may be needed to pull Brexit back from the cliff edge. Rachel Younger, News at 10, Northern Ireland.